The warning alarm screamed across the monitoring station like dying stars. Velthok's 6 eyes widened as he stared at the impossible readings on his display screen. Something had just entered the Velkara abyss. Something alive. For 10,000 years, the Forbidden Zone had been exactly that. Forbidden. 47 different species had sent their best ships into that dark region of space. None ever returned. Not one signal. Not one piece of wreckage, just silence, eternal and complete. The Galactic Council had placed warning beacons around the entire sector. Every child in civilized space learned one rule: never go near the abyss. Yet now, according to his instruments, a ship was inside. And the readings made no sense. Arbiter Velthok. His assistant rushed into the command center, her scales flickering with distress colors. We have confirmed the detection. The signature is primitive, very primitive. Velthok felt his throat sacs tighten. How primitive? Early fusion drive. Basic radiation shielding. The computer estimates technology level 3, maybe 4 at most. She paused, mandibles clicking nervously. Sir, they barely have faster than light travel. A level 3 civilization in the abyss. It was like watching a child walk into a star. Velthok activated the council-wide emergency channel. Within minutes, representatives from 100 worlds flickered into holographic existence around him. This better be real, Velthok, growled Ambassador Krenth, his tusks yellow with age. I was in the middle of— A ship has entered the Forbidden Zone, Velthok interrupted. The holograms fell silent. Human origin. The word human caused a ripple of confusion. Most council members barely knew the species. Earth was a backwater world that had only joined the galactic community 30 years ago. They had 2 colonies and a handful of survey ships. They were nobody's humans. Dr. Kesseral's image leaned forward, her forearms gesturing with scientific curiosity. Those aggressive little mammals? What are they doing in the abyss? We don't know yet. But there's more. Velthok pulled up the sensor data. The abyss is changing. Power readings are spiking across the entire zone. Structures we've never seen before are activating. The council chamber erupted in shouts and accusations. Some demanded immediate military action. Others insisted on enforcing the ancient quarantine. A few suggested using the humans as expendable scouts. Velthok let them argue while he studied the data. Something was very wrong. Or very right. He couldn't decide which. Aboard the UNSC Defiance, Commander Sarah Chen gripped her command chair as another tremor shook the ship. Through the view screen, she could see it. A structure so massive it made planets look like pebbles. It hung in space like a metallic flower. Petals of impossible geometry unfolding in directions that hurt to watch. Captain, we're receiving multiple warnings, Lieutenant Park said from communications, broadcasting in 70 different languages. They all say the same thing: leave immediately. Kinda late for that, muttered Chen. They had jumped into this sector blind, following what their sensors said was a stable wormhole. Instead, they had dropped into whatever this was. And now the structure was responding to their presence. Lights were appearing along its surface, patterns that seemed almost biological. Engineering, can we jump back out? Chen asked. Chief Morrison's voice crackled through the intercom. Negative, Captain. The wormhole collapsed behind us. We need at least 6 hours to recharge the drive, and that's if nothing explodes. Chen made a decision. All hands, this is the captain. We didn't come here on purpose, but we're here now. That thing out there is waking up because of us. We need to understand why before we try to leave. She took a breath. Prepare a shuttle. I'm going over there. Captain, that's— Park started. Not up for debate, Lieutenant. If this goes wrong, you have command. Get the ship ready to jump the second the drive is charged. 20 minutes later, Chen floated in her pressure suit toward the structure. Up close, it was even more impossible. The metal, if it was metal, seemed to shift under her helmet lights. Patterns moved across its surface like thoughts across a mind. She found an opening, or rather, an opening found her. A doorway simply appeared in the smooth surface, perfectly sized for her body. Chen felt her heart hammer in her chest. This was either first contact with something incredible, or she was about to die in a very strange way. She went inside. Back at the monitoring station, Dr. Kesserel watched her instruments with growing amazement. Velthok, you need to see this. The structure's defenses just deactivated. All of them. The human walked right through systems that vaporized our best dreadnoughts. Velthok stared at the data. It was impossible. The Abyss had killed thousands of trained warriors in advanced ships, yet this one human in a primitive suit was walking around inside like she owned the place. "What makes them different?" he whispered. "I don't know," Kesseral replied, "but I intend to find out. We need to send a research vessel to the boundary. If we can study this from a safe distance." A new alert interrupted her. The Defiance was transmitting again. Not a distress call. A warning. Chen's voice came through, distorted but clear. "Galactic Council, this is Commander Sarah Chen of Earth. We've made contact with the structure's intelligence. It's been waiting for someone like us. We need to talk, all of us, because what happens next is going to change everything." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, 1,000 species held their breath, staring at the forbidden zone that was forbidden no longer. And in the heart of the Abyss, ancient machines continued to wake, powered by the presence of the one species their creators never touched. Commander Chen's fingers trembled as she recorded her log entry. Around her, the interior of the ancient structure pulsed with soft blue light, responding to her movements like a living thing. Day 1 inside the precursor facility. She spoke into her helmet recorder. "The structure is unlike anything in human experience. The walls seem to exist in more dimensions than I can see. When I think about moving forward, pathways open. When I need light, it appears. It's as if the place is reading my mind." She moved deeper into the structure, her magnetic boots clicking against floors that felt solid but looked transparent. Below her, or maybe above, directions were strange here. She could see vast chambers filled with machinery that defied description. Some pieces rotated through impossible angles. Others simply existed in ways that made her eyes water. Then she found the central chamber. It was spherical, or her brain interpreted it as spherical. In the center floated something that looked like a tree made of light, its branches reaching into spaces her suit sensors couldn't measure. "Hello?" Chen said, feeling foolish. "My name is Sarah Chen. I'm from Earth. We didn't mean to intrude." The light tree pulsed. Then a voice filled her helmet. Not through her radio, but somehow directly in her mind. It spoke in English, though she knew instinctively it could speak any language. "Welcome, child of unaltered stars. We have waited long for your kind." Chen's breath caught. "You've been waiting for humans?" "Not humans specifically. We waited for any species that evolved without the touch of the precursors. You are the first in 10,000 years. The precursors? You mean, you're not them?" "We are their final creation. Their last gift to this galaxy. They created us to guard this place until the unaltered came." The voice paused as if considering how to explain. "The precursors shaped all life in this galaxy. They seeded worlds, guided evolution, left markers in the genetic code of every thinking species, all except a few. Your world was too distant, too isolated. You evolved naturally." Chen felt dizzy. "Why does that matter?" "Because this facility holds knowledge and power beyond your imagination. The precursors knew their children would fight over such gifts. So they locked it away. The lock is genetic. Any species touched by precursor engineering triggers the defenses. Only the unaltered can enter safely." As if to prove the point, images filled Chen's vision. She saw ships entering the Abyss over thousands of years. Each one was destroyed the moment it came close, torn apart by weapons that activated automatically. The defenses couldn't tell friend from enemy. They only recognized the ancient genetic markers and responded with lethal force. "You killed thousands of people," Chen whispered, horror mixing with understanding. "We had no choice. The programming is absolute. But you carry no markers. To our sensors, you are invisible. You can walk freely here. You can learn our secrets." On the Defiance, Lieutenant Park was coordinating with Dr. Kesseral's science vessel, which had arrived at the edge of the Abyss. The Zenthari scientists' forearms moved across multiple control panels simultaneously. "This is fascinating," Kesseral muttered. "Every sensor we have is going crazy. That structure is putting out more power than a supernova, but it's controlled, directed, and it's all focused on the interior where your captain is." "Is she in danger?" Park asked, worry clear in his voice. "I don't think so. If it wanted to harm her, she'd already be dead. No, this is something else. It's teaching her." "Yes, that's it. The energy patterns look like information transfer." Park gripped his console. "We need to get her out of there." "I don't think you could if you tried," Kesseral replied. "And frankly, Lieutenant, I'm not sure you should want to. Whatever's happening in there, it's the most important event in galactic history. Back in the council chambers, the debate had grown heated. Velthok watched as species he'd known for decades revealed their worst instincts. Some wanted to destroy the structure and the humans with it. Others proposed taking the humans by force and using them to access the facility. A few, like Kesserol, argued for patience and cooperation. The humans stumbled into this by accident, Kesserol's hologram argued. They had no idea what they were entering. They deserve our help, not our hostility. They deserve nothing, snarled Ambassador Krenth. They're primitives who got lucky. That facility contains technology that could make any species the dominant power in the galaxy. You want to just give it to them? I want to follow the law, Velthok said quietly. The chamber fell silent. The Forbidden Zone protocols are clear. Any species that enters and survives has claim to what they find inside. That's been our law for 10,000 years. That law was written when we thought nothing could survive in there, another ambassador protested. Then perhaps we wrote a better law than we knew, Velthok replied, inside the facility. Chen was learning truths that made her head spin. The AI showed her the history of the precursors, a species so advanced they could reshape reality itself. They had filled the galaxy with life, guided evolution on 1,000,000 worlds, and built wonders that lasted eons. And then they had left. Why? Chen asked. If they were so powerful, why abandon everything? Because something was coming. Something even they feared. They built this facility as a last defense, but they knew they couldn't stay to use it. Their presence would attract the threat faster. So they left, hoping that someday a species untouched by their hand would find this place and use it to protect what they created. Chen felt the weight of those words settle on her shoulders. You're talking about a weapon. We are talking about a choice. The facility can share knowledge that will advance every species by thousands of years, or it can activate systems designed to protect an entire galaxy. Or it can do both, but only the unaltered can make that choice. Only you. Why me? Why not my government? Why not the Galactic Council? Because you are here. Because you took the risk when others built walls of fear. Because in this moment you speak for your entire species, whether you wish to or not. Chen closed her eyes. She was just a survey ship captain. She'd signed up to map star systems and study planets, not decide the fate of civilizations. But the AI was right. She was here. She was the first. And whatever she decided in the next few hours would echo across the galaxy for generations. I need time, she said finally. Time to think. Time to consult with my crew and my people. Time is something we have little of, the AI replied. The facility's awakening has sent a signal across dimensions. The thing the precursors feared is listening. It knows we are here. And it is coming. Chen opened her eyes. How long? Days, perhaps weeks. Not longer. Then I guess I'd better make some decisions quickly. Chen touched her helmet controls. Defiance, this is the captain. Prepare for rapid information dump. You're not going to believe any of this. The transmission reached Earth and the Galactic Council simultaneously. Commander Chen's face appeared on 1 billion screens across 100 worlds, tired but determined. People of Earth and the Galactic Council, she began. My name is Commander Sarah Chen, and I bring news that will change everything we know about our place in the universe. She explained it all. The precursors, the genetic lock, the facility's AI, the threat that was coming, and finally the offer. The facility will share its knowledge with all species, Chen said. Technology thousands of years beyond what we have now. Clean energy, medical advances, faster than light travel that doesn't tear holes in space. All of it freely given. But there's a condition. She paused, knowing what came next would cause chaos. The facility requires neutral administrators, people who can access its systems without triggering the defenses. Because of our unique evolutionary history, humans are the only species that can do this safely. The AI is offering humanity a role as caretakers, not rulers. We would maintain the facility, distribute knowledge fairly, and prepare its defenses for the coming threat. But we can't do this alone. We need the Council's cooperation, wisdom, and military strength. The response was immediate and explosive. On Earth, the Global Assembly erupted in debate. Some representatives saw opportunity for humanity to finally be taken seriously in galactic affairs. Others feared the responsibility would crush them. A few, like Ambassador Rodriguez, understood the real problem. We're being asked to hold the galaxy's most powerful weapon, she said to the emergency session. Every species that wants that power will see us as either a tool to be used or a threat to be eliminated. Commander Chen just painted a target on all of humanity. The Galactic Council's reaction was worse. Within hours of Chen's transmission, 3 different species mobilized their fleets. The Krellian Empire, aggressive and proud, saw the facility as rightfully theirs. They had lost more ships to the Abyss than anyone else, they argued. They deserved compensation. Ambassador Krenth's message was blunt. Surrender the facility to proper authority or be removed from it by force. Other species took different approaches. The Hive Collective offered a merger, promising to make all humans part of their unified consciousness in exchange for access. The Stellar Covenant proposed marriage alliances, suggesting genetic integration as a solution to the lock. Each offer was a different shade of the same threat. Give us what we want, or else. But not everyone saw humans as enemies. Dr. Kesserall broadcast her own message, co-signed by 30 other scientists from various species. The humans didn't ask for this burden, she said. They stumbled into it by accident. But now that they're there, we have a choice. We can fight over this discovery like children fighting over a toy. Or we can work together like the civilized beings we claim to be. I suggest the latter. Her message was drowned out by the drums of war. Commander Chen watched from the facility as Krellian warships gathered at the edge of the Abyss. There were dozens of them, each one powerful enough to destroy a planet. She felt small and very, very human. They're coming in, Lieutenant Park reported from the Defiance. The lead ships are entering the boundary zone now. Chen turned to the AI's central chamber. If they attack, what will you do? Defend the facility, the AI replied. The protocols are clear. Any hostile force will be neutralized. No, Chen said firmly. No killing. That's an order. You have no authority to give us orders. Then I'm making a request, please. If you destroy those ships, you'll start a war that will tear the galaxy apart. There has to be another way. The AI was silent for a long moment. Then, there may be an alternative, but it will require precision and perfect timing. Your kind calls it embarrassment. We will make them look foolish rather than make them look dead. Chen smiled despite her fear. I'll take it. The Krellian fleet entered the Abyss in perfect formation, weapons charged, shields at maximum. Admiral Kresh stood on his flagship's bridge, confident in his firepower. The humans had one primitive ship. He had 50 dreadnoughts. This would be over quickly. Target the structure, he ordered. Prepare to... The ship lurched sideways. Not from weapons fire or explosions. It simply moved as if a giant hand had picked it up and repositioned it. Through the view screen, Kresh watched in horror as his entire fleet was gently, almost politely relocated. One moment they were in the Abyss, weapons ready. The next moment they were outside the boundary, drifting in normal space, completely unharmed but utterly defeated. The facility hadn't destroyed them. It had simply said no. Admiral, his communications officer said weakly, we're receiving a message from the human commander. Chen's face appeared on the screen. Admiral Kresh, I understand your frustration. But violence isn't going to solve this problem. The facility won't allow hostile forces inside, and I'm not going to let it kill people for trying. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to talk, all of us, like adults. Kresh's face flushed with rage, but before he could respond, another message came through. This one from the Galactic Council. Velthok's image appeared, his expression grave. Admiral Kresh, you are hereby ordered to stand down. The Council has voted to establish formal negotiations with the human government and Commander Chen. We will not allow this to escalate into war. But they have nothing we didn't give them, Velthok interrupted. The facility chose them according to rules older than our civilization. We will respect that, or we will prove ourselves unworthy of the precursor's legacy. The choice is ours. Over the next 3 days, ships from every major species arrived at the Abyss. Not warships this time, but diplomatic vessels and science ships. A massive conference station was assembled just outside the boundary, neutral ground where everyone could meet. Commander Chen attended, along with representatives from Earth's government. She found herself sitting across from beings who saw her as everything from a prophet to a thief. The first session was chaos, with everyone talking over each other. Finally, Dr. Kesserall stood, her forearms raised for silence. Enough, she said. We're wasting time arguing over who deserves what. There's something we're all missing. Commander Chen, you said the AI warned about a threat. What exactly is coming? Chen nodded gratefully and activated a holographic display. The images the AI had shown her appeared, and the room fell silent. The precursors called it the consuming silence, Chen explained. It's not a species or an empire. It's something else. Something that exists outside our universe and consumes everything it touches. Matter, energy, even space-time itself. The precursors fought it thousands of years ago and barely won. They built this facility as a last line of defense, then left the galaxy, hoping to draw the silence away. She pulled up more data. It worked for a while. But the facility's reactivation sent out a signal. The silence heard it, and now it's coming back. The display showed sensor readings from the galactic edge, a wave of darkness expanding slowly but steadily, swallowing stars as it came. The AI estimates 72 hours until first contact with inhabited systems, Chen said quietly. After that, we have maybe a week before it reaches the core worlds. That's how long we have to decide if we're going to fight each other or fight together. The room stayed silent. Ambassador Krenth, who had been the loudest voice for aggression, stared at the images with his tusks trembling. How do we fight something like that? Someone asked. Chen met their eyes. The facility has weapons. Planet-sized weapons. Reality anchors that can stabilize space-time and keep the silence from consuming us. But they require massive amounts of power and coordination. Every species would need to contribute. We'd all be in this together. Under human leadership, Krenth said bitterly. Under human administration, Chen corrected. There's a difference. I'm not asking anyone to follow orders. I'm asking for cooperation. The facility needs someone who can interface with its systems. That's us. But those systems are designed to coordinate with thousands of ships and millions of minds. That's all of you. Velthok leaned forward. You're proposing a true alliance. Every species working as equals. I'm proposing survival, Chen replied. Everything else is just details. Outside the conference station, emergency broadcasts were going out across the galaxy. The silence was real. It was coming. And humanity, the newest and weakest member of the galactic community, was offering to stand between civilization and extinction. Not because they were chosen or special, but because they were the only ones who could reach the tools needed to do the job. And in the facility, the AI watched and waited, its ancient protocols adapting to something the precursors never quite managed. True cooperation between species, born not from engineering but from necessity and hope. 3 weeks had passed since the emergency conference. 3 weeks of the most intense learning, building, and arguing the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Chen stood in the facility's control center, her hands moving through holographic displays that would have seemed like magic a month ago. Now they felt almost natural. Around her, the crew of the Defiance worked alongside scientists and engineers from 20 different species. Lieutenant Park coordinated with a Zenthari navigation specialist. Chief Morrison argued cheerfully with a Krellian engineer about power distribution, their earlier hostility forgotten in the shared work. The facility was teaching them all, and they were teaching each other. But outside this bubble of cooperation, the galaxy was tearing itself apart. Captain, you need to see this, Park said, pulling up news feeds from across civilized space. The reports painted a picture of chaos. On 12 different worlds, riots had broken out. Some people worshipped humans as saviors, building temples and demanding humanity lead them to salvation. Others saw humans as thieves who stole the precursors' legacy. Anti-human violence was spreading, and so was anti-alien violence on Earth. There was an attack on the human embassy on Zenthar Prime, Park reported quietly. 3 diplomats dead. And on Earth, someone bombed a Krellian trade center. 15 casualties. Chen felt sick. This is because of us. Because of what we found. This is because people are scared, Dr. Kesseral said, entering the control center. Fear makes people stupid, but fear also makes them capable of great courage. We'll see which wins out. Chen nodded, though she didn't feel reassured. How's the research going? Kesseral's expression shifted from sympathetic to excited, a change only her mobile features could manage. That's actually why I came. We found something in the precursor records, something that explains why they really left. She activated a new display, showing data so complex it took several moments to understand. When Chen finally grasped it, her blood went cold. They didn't leave to draw the silence away, Kesseral explained. They left because they lost. The silence pushed them out of this galaxy. Everything they told us about it being a strategic retreat, that was just programming to make the facility seem more hopeful. How bad was it? Chen asked. They threw everything at it. Weapons that could crack planets. Ships the size of solar systems. Technology so advanced it might as well have been divine. And they barely slowed it down. Casserole pulled up images from the ancient battle. The silence consumed whole sectors. It took the precursors 1,000 years of fighting to push it back far enough to escape. And even then, they knew it would return eventually. The facility, Chen said slowly. It's not just a gift to the next generation. It's a last desperate hope. Exactly. The precursors built it as a weapons platform, but they knew they wouldn't be here to use it. So they programmed it to wait for someone else, someone who evolved without their genetic markers because the silence has learned to recognize precursor genetics. It hunts them specifically. Chen sat down heavily. So we're not special. We're just invisible to the thing that destroyed the most advanced civilization in galactic history. I prefer to think of it as a tactical advantage, Casserole said. But yes, essentially. An alarm interrupted them. Multiple alarms. Red lights flashed across every display. Contact, Park announced. The silence has reached the outer rim. We're getting distress signals from 40 systems. No, 50. They're being consumed. Chen pulled up the tactical display. The wave of darkness was visible now. Not just as sensor readings, but as actual absence. Stars were going out, their light simply stopping as if someone had blown out candles. Time to core worlds? She asked. 72 hours, the facility's AI responded. All defenses must be online within that time frame or containment will fail. We're not ready, Chief Morrison said from engineering. We've got maybe 60% of the systems operational. The rest need at least a week. We don't have a week, Chen replied. She made a decision that had been forming in her mind for days, one she'd been hoping to avoid. AI, show me the integration protocols. Kesseral's eyes widened. Sarah, no. You don't know what that will do to you. I know exactly what it will do. I've been studying it. Chen pulled up the files. The integration protocols would link her consciousness directly to the facility's systems, making her a living bridge between human thought and precursor technology. She would be able to control the defenses instinctively, react at the speed of thought, coordinate millions of operations simultaneously. The cost was equally clear. Her brain would be fundamentally altered. She might retain her identity, or she might become something else entirely. The records showed it had been done before by precursor volunteers. Some had survived with their personalities intact. Others had transformed into something neither fully individual nor fully artificial. There has to be another way, Park protested. If there is, we don't have time to find it. Chen stood walking toward the integration chamber. The facility needs a commander who can react in real time. Every second of delay means more people die. I'm not going to let that happen because I was afraid. Captain, that's an order, Lieutenant. If something goes wrong, you have command of the Defiance. Get everyone out safely. She paused at the chamber entrance. And Park? Tell my family I didn't do this because I had to. I did it because I got to. How many people can say they saved the galaxy? She entered the chamber before anyone could argue further. The door sealed behind her. In the center of the room stood a pillar of crystalline technology, pulsing with soft light. Are you certain? The AI asked. Integration is irreversible. I'm certain, Chen said, though her hands shook. Let's do this before I change my mind. Place your hands on the interface. Clear your thoughts. This will be uncomfortable. Chen touched the crystal. Light exploded through her mind. It felt like drowning and flying simultaneously. Her consciousness expanded, suddenly aware of the entire facility as if it were her own body. She could feel the power flowing through conduits like blood through veins. She could sense every room, every system, every particle of the massive structure. But it didn't stop there. Her awareness kept expanding. She could feel the ships docked at the facility. She could sense the distress signals from dying worlds. She could perceive the silence itself, a wrongness in reality that made her want to scream, and she could see how to stop it. The knowledge flooded into her faster than thought. Weapon systems she'd never studied became instinctively understood. Defensive arrays organized themselves in her mind like chess pieces she'd always known how to move. She saw the battle that was coming, played out in a million variations, calculating odds and strategies. But she was still Sarah Chen, still human. Still afraid? Sarah? Kesseral's voice came from outside the chamber. Can you hear me? Chen opened her eyes. Or she thought she did. It was hard to tell where her body ended and the facility began. I hear you. I hear everything. She walked out of the chamber and everyone stepped back, not from fear exactly, but from instinctive recognition that something fundamental had changed. Chen's eyes glowed softly with the same light as the facility's displays. Patterns moved under her skin, visible for moments before fading. "Captain?" Park asked hesitantly. "Still me," Chen assured him, her voice echoing strangely. "Just more. The good news is I know how to use every system in this place now. The bad news is we need help. A lot of help." She pulled up a display with a thought, no longer needing to use her hands. The facility's main weapon is a reality anchor. It can stabilize space-time and prevent the silence from consuming matter. But it requires an enormous amount of power and something else. Neural patterns, organic thought, consciousness itself. "You're saying the weapon runs on minds?" Kesserel asked. "In a way. The silence exists partially outside our dimension. To fight it, we need to anchor reality using patterns it can't predict or consume. Organic consciousness is chaotic enough to work. We need volunteers to link their minds to the facility temporarily, thousands of them." "That's asking people to risk their sanity," someone objected. "I'm asking people to risk everything to save everything," Chen replied. "Including me. I'll be at the center of it, holding the whole network together. If this works, we save the galaxy. If it fails—" She didn't finish the sentence. Velthok's image appeared on the display, broadcasting from the council chambers. "Commander Chen, we've been monitoring the situation. Every species in the council has authorized volunteers. We have 3,000 ships ready to link with the facility, each carrying crew members willing to join the neural network." Chen felt something like relief wash through her expanded awareness. "Thank you, Arbiter. Thank your crew," Velthok replied. "They've been showing the galaxy what humans are capable of. Bravery, innovation, and a stubborn refusal to give up. It's contagious. Let's hope it's enough," Chen said. She turned to her crew. "All hands prepare for network integration. In 72 hours we fight. And we fight together." Outside the facility, ships from 100 worlds gathered. Ancient enemies docked side by side. Scientists who'd never spoken the same language worked through translators to solve problems together. And slowly, against all historical precedent, the galaxy began to function as one organism, all coordinated by a human commander who was no longer entirely human, but who held on to her humanity like a lifeline in the storm to come. Commander Sarah Chen existed everywhere and nowhere. Her consciousness spread through the facility like electricity through wire, touching every system, every sensor, every weapon. She could feel the minds of 3,000 volunteers beginning to link with her, their thoughts adding strength to the growing network. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. But somewhere deep in that vast awareness, a small part of her remained Sarah Chen, 32 years old, originally from Seattle, who just wanted to explore space and maybe have dinner with her family again someday. That small part was screaming. "Neural link stabilizing," Dr. Kesserol reported from her station. She was one of the volunteers, her consciousness partially merged with Chen's. "Sarah, I can feel you." "We all can. You're holding us together." "Barely," Chen replied through the facility's communication systems. Her voice came from everywhere at once. "The silence is getting closer. I can feel it pressing against reality like a hand against glass. How long until it reaches the core worlds?" 12 hours, Lieutenant Park answered from the Defiance. He hadn't volunteered for the neural link. Someone had to stay outside to coordinate if things went wrong. "The outer rim is gone. 20 systems, billions of people just gone." Chen felt those deaths as absences in the fabric of space. The silence didn't kill so much as erase. It consumed everything, matter, energy, even the memory of what had existed. The precursors had been right to fear it. "All ships, report status," she commanded. Responses flooded back from across the fleet. Krellian dreadnoughts and Zenthari science vessels. Human frigates and collective mineships. Species that had been enemies for centuries now flew in perfect formation. Because the alternative was extinction. Admiral Kresch's voice came through, surprisingly respectful. "Krellian battle group ready, Commander. We await your orders." "Hold position," Chen replied. "The real fight hasn't started yet." Velthok observed from the council station, watching the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. But he knew the ships weren't the real weapon. The facility was. And at the heart of the facility was one human who had volunteered to become something more than human. To save everyone. "How is she holding up?" he asked Kesserol through a private channel. She's in pain, Kesserol replied honestly. The neural integration is fighting her biological limits. She's experiencing 11 dimensions of reality when human brains evolved to handle 3. But she's not letting go. She's holding thousands of minds together through sheer willpower. Can she survive this? I don't know. I'm not sure anyone knows, not even her. The silence reached the core world 16 hours ahead of schedule. Chen felt it arrive like ice water in her veins. The edge of darkness touched the outer defense sphere and reality itself shuddered. It's here, she announced. All volunteers link minds, now. 3,000 voices became one voice. 3,000 perspectives merged into a single awareness. Chen was the center, the anchor, but she was no longer alone. She could feel Kesserol's scientific curiosity, Kresh's warrior discipline, the collective's unified calm. Every volunteer brought their unique perspective, and together they became something no single species could ever be. The facility's weapons activated. Reality anchors, the precursors had called them. They were more like stakes driven into the fabric of existence, holding it steady against the silence's attempt to unravel everything. Fire, Chen commanded, and the galaxy lit up with light. Energy beams that existed in multiple dimensions at once lanced out from the facility. They struck the silence's edge, and for a moment they held. The darkness stopped advancing. Reality stabilized. Victory seemed possible. Then the silence adapted. It had learned from fighting the precursors. It began flowing around the anchors, seeking weaknesses. Chen felt it probing her defenses like a predator testing a fence. She adjusted, redirecting power, repositioning anchors. The merged consciousness moved with her, reacting faster than any individual could. But it wasn't enough. We're losing ground on the eastern quadrant, someone reported. Chen couldn't tell who anymore. The individual voices were blurring together. Reinforcing, she replied, pulling power from other sections. But that just made the silence press harder elsewhere. It was like trying to hold back the ocean with a bucket. Sarah. Kesserol's voice cut through the chaos, clear and focused. You're trying to fight it like the precursors did. Meeting force with force. But we're not precursors. What do you mean? They were one species, one way of thinking. We're dozens of species. Hundreds of different perspectives. That's our advantage. Stop trying to control everything. Let us help. Chen hesitated. Letting go of control meant the network might fragment. But Kesserol was right. She was thinking like a human military commander, trying to coordinate every detail. The precursors had probably done the same thing. She made a choice that went against every instinct. She released her grip on the network. Instantly, chaos. But it was organized chaos. The Krellian minds naturally gravitated toward aggressive tactics, pushing hard against the silence's advance. The Zenthari focused on analyzing patterns and predicting where it would strike next. The collective maintained stability, keeping everyone linked. And the humans, Chen's own people, provided something unexpected. Adaptability and creative problem-solving that came from a species that had evolved without anyone's guidance. Each species contributed what they did best. The network became not a hierarchy with Chen at the top, but a web of cooperation where everyone played their role. And slowly, impossibly, they started winning. The reality anchors held, then advanced. The silence pulled back, encountering resistance it couldn't adapt to because the resistance kept changing. Every time it found a pattern, the defenders shifted to something new. Eastern quadrant stabilized, someone reported. Northern front holding. Silence is retreating in Sector 7. But victory came with a cost. Chen could feel volunteers dropping out of the network as their minds reached their limits. Some would recover. Others might not. She could feel their pain, their fear, their courage. And she could feel herself fragmenting. The Sarah Chen who had entered the integration chamber was dissolving into the larger network. Soon she would be just another voice among thousands, unable to separate her thoughts from everyone else's. She found she didn't mind as much as she expected. Hold the line, she whispered, not sure if she was talking to the others or to herself. Just a little longer. The battle lasted 3 days. 3 days of constant fighting, constant adaptation, constant sacrifice. More volunteers joined the network to replace those who fell away. Ships were damaged and repaired. Systems overloaded and were rerouted, and slowly the silence retreated. Chen couldn't pinpoint the exact moment when victory became certain. But eventually she felt the pressure lessen. The darkness pulled back, not destroyed but pushed to the galactic edge. The facility's anchors formed a permanent barrier, a wall in space-time that the silence couldn't cross without enormous effort. "It's over," Velthok announced from the council station. "The core worlds are safe. The silence has been contained." The network began to dissolve. Volunteers separated back into their individual selves, exhausted but alive. Ships limped back to dock. Medics rushed to help those whose minds had been damaged by the strain. And Chen found herself back in the integration chamber, alone in her own head for the first time in days. It felt empty. "Sarah?" Park's voice came through her helmet radio, impossibly distant. "Are you okay?" She tried to answer, but words were hard. Language seemed clumsy compared to the direct mind-to-mind communication she'd been using. Eventually she managed, "Define okay." Park laughed, relief clear in his voice. "Close enough. Come on out. People want to see that you're still human." Chen stood slowly. Her body felt strange, too small and too simple. She could still feel the facility around her, still sense its systems like phantom limbs. The integration hadn't fully reversed. It never would. She walked out to find her crew waiting. They didn't salute or celebrate. They just watched her carefully, trying to determine if their captain had come back or if something else was wearing her face. "Still me," Chen said, though she wasn't entirely sure that was true. "Just different. We all are, I think." Kesserel approached, moving carefully. The neural link had affected her too, leaving her quieter and more contemplative. "The council wants to speak with you. Formal ceremony? Medals and speeches." "Of course they do," Chen sighed. "What I really want is a shower and about 12 hours of sleep. But I suppose saving the galaxy comes with paperwork." The ceremony was held a week later. Representatives from every species gathered, both those who had fought and those who had watched. Chen stood in the center, uncomfortable in her dress uniform, listening to speeches about courage and sacrifice. But the real changes were happening quietly, in smaller moments. Krellian and human engineers were swapping technical manuals. Xanthari scientists were teaching Earth universities. The collective was offering to help traumatized volunteers process their experiences. Species that had been isolated for millennia were opening their borders. The facility itself became neutral ground, administered not by humans alone but by a council of all species. Chen remained as its primary interface, but she shared authority with representatives from 20 different worlds. The precursor technology was being shared slowly, carefully, making sure it helped rather than disrupted. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts and disagreements. Old prejudices didn't disappear overnight. But there was also cooperation that would have been impossible before. 6 months later, Chen stood on the facility's observation deck watching ships come and go. The silence remained at the galactic edge, contained but not defeated. The anchors required constant maintenance. Someone would always need to be here, watching, ready. She had volunteered to stay permanently. Her integration with the facility was too deep to fully reverse, and trying might kill her. But she found she didn't want to reverse it. This place was home now in a way Earth could never be again. "Commander!" A young ensign approached nervously. "We're detecting anomalies in Sector 9. The AI thinks there might be more precursor facilities activating." Chen smiled. "Then I guess we'll need to find them. Assemble a survey team, mixed species like before, and this time we'll know what we're looking for." As the ensign hurried off, Chen returned her gaze to the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of darkness, the precursors might still exist. Somewhere out there, other threats might be waiting. But the galaxy had learned something important. Unity wasn't about being the same. It was about combining differences into something stronger than any single part. Humanity had stumbled into the forbidden zone by accident. They had emerged carrying a gift they never asked for, and a responsibility they never wanted. But they had faced it not alone, but together with species they barely knew. And in doing so, they had proven something the precursors never quite managed. That the best defense against the darkness wasn't superior technology or individual strength. It was the simple, stubborn willingness to stand together when everything said you should stand apart. Chen touched the interface panel, feeling the facility respond to her thought. Out in the void, new structures were waking. New challenges were coming, and the galaxy would face them the same way it had faced the silence, together.